Hello everyone. It is Monday evening when I'm filming this video, so I hope you all had a wonderful Monday. Mine could have been a little better, but hey, survived, so I can't complain too much. So for this week, we got a lot of new and exciting things coming up. We're working on our first essay, working through our first peer review for that, and doing one of our first grammar rule things. So we'll talk about that in a second. Let's go back over last week as we always do. So looking over our blogs and videos, I was exceptionally pleased with these this week. Everyone really took my comments to heart last week with making sure that you respond to each and every one of the prompt questions, so there wasn't any issues with that this week. And there was a lot of really interesting feedback going on. So I'm going to start with the videos this time. I don't remember what I usually start with, but we'll start with videos this week. So our videos were tying in the idea of the Protestant work ethic with Ragged Dick and with the American Dream and self-made men and all that kind of stuff. So we had several questions going on. Let me go ahead and pull that up real quick. So we had questions about, do Americans still believe that you can make yourself into anything you want to be? And a lot of you are responding with kind of mixed answers to this. And someone made the connection back to our very first blog post with our Leave It to Beaver responses. So there was almost everyone answered this first with, yes, we believe that you can make yourself into anything you want to be. And then a few of you went further and said, however, this isn't actually true. Believing it and putting it into practice are two very different things. A lot of you have kids, and I'm pretty sure none of you, if your kid says, I want to be an astronaut ballerina, none of you is going to say, sorry, that's not a thing, you can't do it. You're going to be like, oh yeah, tell me about it, that's great. So the idea that we still hold this belief that we can be anything we want, that anything is achievable is there. And then, as you grow up, reality hits. And I think it was Matthew, I want to say, in the very first video I looked at, was commenting that you can want to be a basketball player, but just because you want to be a basketball player doesn't mean it will actually happen. Other factors come into play once reality hits, like your athletic ability, your height. I would say even money and access to coaches and programs is a big thing. So everyone had the same idea. We start with, yes, we can do anything that we want to. You can be anything that you want to be. But then you have to take a realistic stance on it and say, maybe not quite true. But even just reality hitting isn't part of it. Part of it, too, is, depending on where you've grown up, too. If you grow up, like in Hawaii, it's 3 times, maybe more, as hard to become a big-time politician or a big-time actor. Very rare that these things happen. And so that leads me to the next part. What are some examples of this rag to riches philosophy in contemporary society? So let me just list off some of our responses to this part. There were lots of good answers here. We had Joe Biden. A lot of you mentioned Oprah. She's the first one that pops into my mind. We had Halle Berry, Hilary Swank, J.K. Rowling, the owner of Walmart. I didn't catch the name. Mike Tyson, Madonna, the lead singer of Journey. Steve Jobs, James Garfield, Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? And then there were even some ties to reality TV, which I thought was really interesting. The first one that got mentioned was actually America's Got Talent. And this is, all reality TV actually plays off of this rags to riches story of you come from nothing, you get on this show, and boom, your life has changed, and you're famous. And someone made the point that even people who lose those shows, right, people who are runners-up or fifth place or whatever on American Idol, America's Got Talent, still end up with really good lives. They're getting publicity, they're getting noticed, and so someone is bound to pick them up. I actually am a big fan of America's Got Talent and just watched the finale last week. It feels like this week. And throughout the live shows, they tend to bring past winners and past runners-up and past just popular people back each season. And one that keeps getting brought back is this group called Illuminate. And I don't remember exactly when what they placed in the show. I know that they weren't the winners, and I'm not even sure they were top 2. But they have found success just because they got noticed on that show. So we have all these different examples. And then the people like Oprah and Halle Berry and Hilary Swank that literally come from nothing, right? Living in a van, being homeless, being on welfare. And they get their one big break and then have their whole lives change and now are some of the most successful people on the planet. Oprah Winfrey. She's owned so many things, it's hard to know anymore. I believe she used to have her own network. I think that got ended. Her show is over, but she still has a magazine. She still has her humanitarian work that she does in Africa and all that kind of stuff. J.K. Rowling is an interesting one. She was on welfare, as someone mentioned in their post, Amy's post, and she was writing her books on napkins in cafes wherever she could do it. Now she has taken over a good part of people's childhoods. The Harry Potter book series came out when I was in either intermediate or high school, I think, and I resisted reading them for a long time and then fell into the trap and ended up being a long-time Harry Potter fan. And it forms this connection, so now she has this World of Harry Potter at Universal Studios. And then you can think about the jelly beans, Jelly Belly jelly beans, make the Birdie Bots every flavor jelly beans. And there's just this massive thing, and that she had a new play come out this summer too, that even though Harry Potter has been over for a while, still garnered a lot of attention for various reasons, one of which they changed the race of one of the characters, or they had Hermione portrayed by an African American woman or an African woman, and there was a great uproar about that. And then I believe there's another movie tied to the series coming out, or has come out, I can't quite recall, and I can't remember the name of it, something about creatures, something. But these people have come from nothing and become big-time representatives of entire generations, if you think about it. So it's really interesting to look at that. And I really loved Dana's story about having gone to school with The Rock, and with Moana coming out, he was just on Good Morning America promoting the movie. And one thing that people mentioned that was tied to the question of, what was it? Do we value ethical behavior, accomplishments, or celebrity status? What do we value in the self-made man and woman? And a lot of you mentioned humility, number one, and number two, there was a lot of grounding oneself. And so I think The Rock was actually a really great example of this. I do not know, I know who he is, I know what he's famous for, but I don't know much about him as a person. But from what I see, he is very much grounded in his background. When he was on Good Morning America, he actually went on to promote Moana by he had a couple guys doing fire knife dancing, and then he came on and did a pretty quick kind of chant thing. But he is very much grounded in his culture, and I think that when someone is able to keep themselves grounded, they stay humble, it draws us to them. There's a very different feeling between a self-made man or woman who's, like people were talking about, the Kardashians, self-made in a very different way. Someone mentioned social media. I believe the Kardashians kind of got famous off of social media. Honestly, I don't know why the Kardashians are famous. I've asked that question to many people, and I think a lot of people don't know why they're famous. But being able to ground yourself in something makes people feel drawn to you. So I think The Rock's celebrity status is very different from the Kardashians, where they are famous purely because they're famous. The Rock is famous but has an ability to stay connected to people and the common people. Someone used the word normal in their video post, and that could take us in a whole nother direction as to what is normal, but we won't go there. The other question that followed that one was do we value ethical behavior, accomplishments, or celebrity status? Kind of just talked about that one a little bit, with the idea that celebrity status doesn't mean too much to us. It's the character, the person that's behind that celebrity status. So someone mentioned we value, who was it? We value celebrity status when it comes with a sense of normalcy. Again, it's a self-made man. Oprah Winfrey, celebrity status, yes, but it stems from looking at her background, and this was from Mark's post about someone who survived a pitfall but bounced back. They have a strength of character about them. So the accomplishments are tied in with their celebrity status. If they were able to overcome some great obstacle, then it gives them a greater celebrity status than someone like Paris Hilton that was mentioned, who just fell into it. She was born into her celebrity status, so it has less impact. The question for me that I was most interested in hearing the responses to was the last one. Do Americans believe that good luck is a shortcut to success? And this really ties in with the story from not this past week's readings, but before that, I believe, where Frank and Dick are touring New York, and Frank tells Ragged Dick, the story of Dick Whittington. Why they had to give him the same name as the main character, I don't know. But this is the story of the kid who went around picking up pins and got noticed for his hard work by a ship captain or something, who said, you did such a good job, you worked so hard, give me something I'll take on my ship to the New World. And he gives his cat. And then the cat ends up, they land on an island, the cat ends up killing all the rats and solving the big rat problem on that island. And the king says, this cat has saved our lives, what do we owe its owner? And from there, Dick Whittington gets successful and rich. And so the story actually combines the idea of hard work and luck. Without his hard work of picking up those pins, he wouldn't have had the luck of being noticed, which then led to more luck. And a lot of you are making this connection too, that luck and hard work are not mutually exclusive. And it's not so much luck that we talk about either as almost a reward for the hard work, good karma, right? And so when I've taught this book in the past, not in the online format, one of the response questions is actually about that passage. Do you think Dick Whittington's success came from luck or hard work? And you guys answered it really well with the idea that they work together. Hard work leads to good karma, good luck, coincidence, however you want to view it, which then leads to further reward. So knowing that they aren't two different things here. And we'll actually look at this theme likely a little later this semester, because it carries through to the other two literary pieces we're looking at, Plantation Boy and Fast Food Nation. Fast Food Nation actually talks about the hard work of different fast food industry leaders and how it led to them growing to what their fast food restaurants have now become. So really great job with those video posts. I was really pleased, and I thought you all put a lot of effort and mind work into it. The blogs were also just as good. I had fun looking at all the different kinds of things you guys read throughout the week. So some of the ones we had, the very first one was a wine website, and man, I could have used a glass of wine tonight, I'll tell you that. So wine website, someone had a book about a particular, I guess you would call it an archaeological piece that was tied to celestial things. Someone looked at Midweek, and Natasha, this was yours, and I saw your question earlier last week about, is Midweek a newspaper, and I tried to figure it out for you, and really couldn't, so I thought you dealt with that pretty well. Then we had someone looking at Security Week, a website for cybersecurity stuff. Snapchat, Cosmopolitan Snapchat was really interesting. The Honolulu Community College newspaper, Kala. Your business finance textbooks. A Telegraph article on mold and bagpipes. I can't remember what this one was. The Love is an Emotion or Choice, that was a post on Facebook. And then CNN news articles. So nice variety there. It was really great that no one chose exactly the same thing. Obviously, we're all reading very different things throughout the week. And everyone, for the most part, people did a really good job of digging beyond the obvious. So actually doing some research into like who published a book or who published a website. And I'm trying to remember, I think I told you guys about the Martin Luther King Jr. website that's run by a white pride organization. You can correct me in the comments for this video if I'm wrong. But the idea that knowing a little more about the background of who's publishing something can give you some insight into what they're trying to do with it. The one thing that was missing from a few of your blog posts, just a few of them, was the question of purpose. Is this meant to entertain? Is it meant to inform? Is it meant to persuade? But everyone really did try to get an idea of audience. Some of you pushed a lot further than others, looking at word choice, especially with the celestial archaeological book. This was Kilohana's post. With the charts and calculations and the different kinds of jargon that was somewhat confusing if you weren't already familiar with this topic. It tells you that this is meant to likely inform, not really persuade of anything, but to inform, and it's also targeted towards an audience that already has some knowledge here. Someone mentioned, well, actually several people mentioned this, the visual appeal, especially when it comes to websites. The way something is laid out on a website, the colors that are chosen, all of those things tell you about an audience. And this was brought up with the Cosmopolitan Snapchat post too, where Cosmopolitan's colors are pink, generally. Therefore, their audience, because of gender norms, and again, that's another issue for possibly another day and another class. But if your color is pink, your title is in pink, you're going to be targeting a female audience. right? So that gives you a clue there without words, with visual cues. And someone also mentioned with, this was Joseph's post, and I'm quoting, articles targeted towards young women tend to be aesthetically pleasing with lots of colors and a strong attention to detail, like Cosmopolitan, Women's Health, and Vogue. This site is very bland and the phrasing is very militarized. It obviously isn't trying to target young women or a younger age bracket in general. This is the Security Weekend article. So if you compare something like CNN news site to something like BuzzFeed, BuzzFeed is much more image heavy. They have different fonts, different size fonts, whereas CNN is pretty much the same font size throughout, except the title might be bigger, and you might get one or two images on that article just to make a tie-in somewhere. BuzzFeed is almost image first with caption on a lot of their things. So I really like the tie to the visual cues. That was really great. One post led me to think about something really important. How it's important to remember that the audience of an article and the audience of a person or people that it quotes are two different things. So like if you're reading an article that's talking about, because political season, talking about Hillary Clinton's political views. Hillary Clinton's audience is going to be different from the audience that article might be trying to get. The article could be persuasive, telling you not to vote for Hillary Clinton, whereas Hillary Clinton's trying to get you to vote for her. So they're both trying to persuade, but they're going to be going after two very different audiences, likely. Okay, so really great job with those two. Trying to think of the audience awareness was actually, if you noticed, a prep for our first essay. One of the topics was audience and trying to figure out who Horatio Alger might be aiming Ragged Dick towards. And almost everyone said young boys, or at least boys. I wanted a little more specifics here, and some of you gave it to me, but most of you didn't. So when you say boys, are you talking about, again, age group? A lot of you gave me an age range, which was great. Some of you went as far as saying socioeconomic class, so rich or poor, or all of the above. And then not many of you even pushed very far into how do you know that this is the audience that he's trying to reach. Some of you mentioned the weird points of asides that are made to readers where the action kind of stops in the story and Alger's narrator calls directly out to the reader, especially in the beginning with the scene of, not the scene, the passage where the narrator is saying, now, Ragged Dick isn't perfect, he has all these faults, but his overall character is good. And then the other one with the, was a passage someone mentioned last week too. Putting on airs, that kind of passage. The big feeling or something. That one was another weird aside there. So that points out an audience. The way that there's not much complicated in this story. If you noticed, it's a really quick read, hence the reason I kind of kick off the semester with it. It's a very quick read. 50 pages flies by like that, or however many chapters that equates to. So picking up on kind of doing a close reading of the audience now, and the way that the passages point to an audience. So if you choose that particular topic for your essay this week / last week this week, then you're going to be looking for passages that point directly to a very specific audience. And the more specific you can get, the better off. You can even say that there are multiple audiences going on. There's a primary audience of this, and then there's a secondary or tertiary or whatever audience, and point to different examples from the text for all of them. Okay? So the video posts too, by the way, were kind of a setup for this essay with the question of the Protestant work ethic and self-made men tied into one of those three topics that I gave you for the essay assignment. Okay, so that brings us to talking about what is going on this week. So if you look at our schedule, our main thing we're doing this week is the peer workshop, and the blog post and the video post all tie into that. So your first thing you're going to do is be watching this video, so check that off. Good job for you. You're going to then finish reading Ragged Dick all the way to the end. I don't think there's any, if I recall, there's no extra anything on the end of the actual text. So if you're reading it online, just finish it. And then to set us up for our peer workshop, I got technically two things I want you to look at. The first one is called Responding, Really Responding. This is to get you in the mindset of how I want you commenting to whoever it is you're working with. So if you've had any experience with peer workshops in the past, they probably ended up with something like, your paper is really good. I like it. Good job. Don't change anything. Well, maybe they didn't say that, but good job. I liked it. Really nice job on your writing. Or they ended up correcting your grammar, and that was it. So we're going to be trying to do differently than that in this class, and so this is setting us up for the workshops where the other two essays will have as well. So read the piece. They talk about marginal comments that you write in the margin. As you know, you're reading something, you find a sentence you really like, and you write like ha or yes or something to show you like it. So those would be shorter comments in the margin, and then at the end you would have kind of a summarizing thing. You can do this as a list, you can do this as a paragraph where you mention, generally the rule is mention one thing you like, one thing that the author did well, the writer did well, and one thing you think they should focus on for the revision. Now, you're welcome to share more than one of each, but you need to have a minimum of one each. So we don't want I liked all of these things, you did a really great job, and no constructive criticism feedback. And we don't want the opposite, where everything is, you need to fix this, 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 and this, because then we're totally messing with someone's ego, making them feel really bad about themselves as a writer. So we want to have a nice balance. You did this really great, but no one's perfect, so work on this too. The one thing we are not doing, and I have this on the second thing you're looking at, is the guiding workshop questions. The one thing we're not doing is grammar editing. So that's going to be secondary. The first thing you want to be doing is looking at content. Structure, the types of passages that they chose. Are they relevant to the point that they were trying to make? Or can you think of better passages? Not things like they have too many commas, or they have a run-on sentence here, or they spelt this wrong, or they used the wrong form of there. We're not doing that kind of stuff. So, well, you can, but make that second to you giving them feedback on their actual content, what they say rather than how they say it. So I have that kind of a disclaimer on the guiding workshop questions, and so you're reading over those before you do the peer edits, to give you an idea of what you are looking to comment on. I will leave it up to you if you want to use these questions and kind of write up a summary for the writer, the person whose paper you're reading, where you answer each question. Or you can use these literally as guiding workshop questions, where you look at the question where it says, how's the author's hook? And you look at the hook, and then you go and write in the margin, great hook or needs work. So how you use these questions is up to you, but they do need to be addressed somehow. Okay? So as far as how these peer workshops are going to go, if you look at the schedule, there is everyone's names and emails separated by little kind of pale horizontal lines, but they're there if you look for them. We pretty much got pairs, except for we got one trio. Natasha, Robert, and Tristy are a trio. Everyone else you're in pairs with whoever's name is grouped with yours. So your goal, last week you were to have started at least on your draft for this essay. This week you need to have that draft finished and then send it to your partner, okay? and then they will send you their paper, and you comment on each other's papers and send them back. So if you've done this kind of thing in a class before, it's the same thing, but now no physical presence going on because we're online. So this is on the schedule, but because you are going to have to write a blog response about the workshop that will be due by our Saturday midnight deadline, you want to have this done with enough time to be able to think about how the process went. So my best suggestion to you would be that if you haven't gotten your rough drafts written and ready to go yet, you need to have them written, finished, and exchanged, I would say by Wednesday evening or something like that. And then I would say get your feedback to each other no later than Friday. That's even cutting it a little close. So if you can get it back earlier, then great. And I'll leave it up to you guys to kind of be each other's, for lack of better words right now, kick in the butt. If you have a partner who is not responding, you sent your essay and you said, send me yours, and they don't even respond to say that they haven't finished it yet, they'll get it to you. Please let me know as soon as possible. I do not want you to be unable to finish your blog response this week because you didn't get feedback. I can provide feedback for you if necessary, or find someone else who'd be willing to do it for you, to work with you. So do keep the communication lines open there. I know a couple of you emailed me over the weekend and I have to respond to those, but I did get your email, so I will respond if something's truly urgent. Okay, so that's the pure workshop part. As far as the assignments that go with it, like I was saying, your first one is the blog response. You're basically going to reflect on the workshopping experience. Let me go back here to it. So if you look at, trying to get to it, the website's not working. If you look at the week 5 blog, I have a few questions for you to answer in your blog post this week after you've exchanged papers, given feedback, and gotten your feedback as well. So the first one, what was it like for you to comment on someone else's paper? Was it awkward, helpful, insightful, annoying, empowering, a mix? Tell me a few sentences about how that went. And be honest, okay? If you be honest to a point. If you have a partner that made it really frustrating for you to do this whole process, then I would say you can be honest, but frame it in a way that if they read your post, because they know who you are and they're going to know that they were your partner, if they read your post, they aren't going to take offense to anything you say. So tread carefully there, I will say. And again, if you really have a problem and you don't want to kind of air your dirty laundry on the blog post, email me about it, okay? Second thing you'll do is give a quick overview of the feedback you received. What kinds of comments did you get? What were the most helpful? Maybe you can even say what wasn't that helpful. I know that I have grammar issues, so the comments all over my paper about my misplaced commas were not that helpful because I do not understand comma rules or something like that. So you can talk about what helped and what didn't help. It'll be good for everyone to hear that kind of feedback, to know what to do next time. And then the last one is, what are your plans for moving forward? What are you going to work on? I got to change that. It says in your next draft, but in your final draft. What are you going to cut? What are you going to add? What are you going to revise? Okay, so you can answer these in bullet points this week if you want. I really don't mind either way. And then your video response is actually, this is a little bit different. So if you noticed on the calendar way back in week 1, there are 3 points throughout the semester that say grammar rule. So the idea here is I'm not going to have a very overt grammar instruction for you guys. We're going to be teaching each other grammar rules, and you are going to be providing those grammar rules themselves. So if you look at our blog page for this week, I start you off with one that's something I absolutely hate, and it's the whole I before E except after C rule, which isn't really a rule, because if you click on the website that I give you the link to, there's a 3, 4, 5 stanza long poem that tells you all the exceptions to the I before E rule. And so for me, that's a big one, because when I'm standing up in front of a class and I have to spell the word receive or something like that, it shows, it's probably good, but it shows a moment of weakness. And it's like, I'm an English instructor. Shouldn't I know how to spell? So I give you that one to kick you off. And I talk about look over that and then understand it and vow that you will never spell a word with I and E next to each other wrong ever again, which likely isn't going to happen, but hey, that's what spell check and autocorrect are for, right? So once you look at that, and then there's also a funny video called, and it's not a typo, it is called the impotence of proofreading. So listen or watch or whatever with that video. It's quite funny, and it talks about the importance of proofreading. Okay? And then I want you to pick 2 of the different resources I give you for different grammar rules. So there's a bunch. It's like BuzzFeed and Mental Floss kind of things, and then a couple other ones that are there. Choose any 2. Or if it says choose 1 next to it, you go to that website and choose 1, and that counts as one of your 2. So getting some background on different grammar rules. And then what you're actually doing is you're going to think about your past experience with writing English papers or any other course papers, and rules or things that you've gotten wrong, don't understand, anything like that. And then you're going to choose 3, any 3 that you want, and those will be 3 that you will look at throughout the semester. So make a list of the 3 that you want to do and tell us those 3 in the video. But by telling, I mean list, say like, I'm going to cover comma rules and the misspelling of a lot and much versus many. Okay, so list them, and then for one of them, you're going to teach us that rule or explain that concept to us in your video this week. Just one of the 3. Okay, so the other 2 go on the back burner for the other days that we got. That's say Grammar Rule 2 and Grammar Rule 3. Those will come with, we'll do 1 for each draft of the essays that we're working on. Okay, so if you look at the video blog page, video response, it says give us a tutorial about the one rule you researched further for this week. Tell us the common mistake people make surrounding your choice, then tell us how to use it properly. Give us a quick lesson. And this can be however you want to do it. I've had people go online and make videos, not videos of themselves talking, but like I can't remember what it was called, but someone made an actual video where they were able to plug in words and have little characters and things like that. You can keep it simple and have like a piece of paper that you hold up to the camera. I do warn you in the video response post page though that the cameras pick up things in reverse. So I just figured out this week how to mirror my videos so it will show things the right way. But if you're not tech savvy, that might be too difficult. So you can find another way to do it. I don't know how, but come up with something. Or you can just talk at us. But provide us with what the rule is or what the concept is, and examples are always helpful. And I mean, you can take it as far as creating, giving us some exercises we can work on and then giving us answers to them or something. I don't know. Have fun. Imagine you're teaching a class. If you have ever taught something before, this is your chance to go back to it. Okay, so everything this week is revolving around that peer review. So that gets done first. Then I would probably do your blog first, your written blog, and then probably your video. But of course you can go with those 2 in either order that you want. Okay. And let me double check that there's nothing else I wanted to mention here. Nope, that covers it. So So I'm looking forward to hearing how these workshops go. Hopefully everyone has a successful workshop, and again, if things aren't working out the way you need them to or want them to, do not hesitate to email. The sooner the better. We can try to solve any problems or bumps in the roads that we get to. Okay? So until next week, have a good rest of your week. It is now 10:35 and I've talked for far too long. So I will see you on the videos on Saturday. Bye.